first of all, I want to just give a round of applause and thanks to everybody on the Boston Ujima Project. Please join me in celebrating them on this incredible event. Big, big up, y'all. You did your thing. It looks amazing. Thank you. I also want to take a moment to say hi to all of my team that's here. Hey, Runway folks. Wave. Hey, y'all. Okay. And I want you to notice the looks, the fashion before I get started. Okay.
All
right.
Walk.
Thank you. This piece was created by the lovely Joelle from I Am Creole in the back. A Boston resident and one of the portfolio companies with Runway. So I'm really excited. Thank you so much for honoring me with this piece. All right, so we are in the moment right now where we're going to transition a little bit to a conversation with a dear friend of mine, Konda Mason. And this is the conversation we're going to have to ground us in why we're here, what this moment in time is. So to just take a deep breath, pull yourself in. Whatever you got that's coming in from outside, I know that there are a lot of things that are moving, and as you show up in this moment in time, you're thinking, I may still need to make that phone call, or I forgot to do this, or I forgot to suspend it for 1 second here. Give yourself that permission. That's the first possibility. There's enough time. There's enough space for you and for all of us to be heard, to be seen. So that's the invitation right now, to settle your spirit and your energy, and please welcome Konda Mason. Wherever you need.
We're so far apart.
So I have the real privilege here to talk to my friend. Why are we so far away, though? I feel like we should just be like, yeah, I know. We can't move everything right now, though. We should have thought about that earlier. We're those people who would have moved it all.
Change the furniture around.
Yeah, we would have done that, totally.
All right, I gotta get me my little, I've been fighting the cold. I got a little vitamin C and some stuff here. I'm gonna come
Maybe
close.
we just like at least just kind of turn more
why
into
don't we
each
share
other.
it this way?
Okay, perfect.
How does that sound? Is that all right? Can y'all hear?
Yes.
Yeah?
All right.
Sound is okay?
Can you see me over here? Okay, cute. Okay, good.
Hey, Oakland.
Yeah.
Yay.
We see all our friends here. We were just talking about how earlier, it's been a moment since we've had a chance to really be in this kind of space together since the pandemic for a lot of us.
Yeah.
And it feels like just the most delicious, amazing moment right now to see you and to have this conversation. Because when we used to talk about these things, we used to be pushed over onto the conference with one little track that was about racial justice, and that was the catch-all for everybody and anything at any point in time. Y'all know this, right? You've been to these conferences. So to be here and to be able to talk about Blackness and possibility and imagination and creativity and all the things we love to talk about feels like the best gift of all times. So I am really, really honored to do this with you.
I'm very honored. I'm so pleased that this is happening. And the idea came to fruition to give us this space, to give all of us this space to talk the way that we need to talk to each other. And I think this is going to be a beautiful, beautiful day. So I'm super excited about it.
So what we'll do, everybody, is Konda and I will talk, and then at the end, we'll have a moment for you to ask whatever questions you want to ask. So, start, you can ruminate on those kinds of things, but, don't worry, stay engaged in the conversation. There'll be time for you on the back end. I'm really curious, Konda, and by way of introducing you, Konda lives and works on a farm in Louisiana. And it's a pretty special project where you are bringing together and working with Black farmers to increase their profitability, to do good land stewardship, and a lot of healing work is happening on that land as well. Tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, the work. So the organization that I founded is called Jubilee Justice, and as you said, we're in. Somebody is from New Orleans. Who was from New Orleans?
Yeah.
All right, we're in Alexandria, 3 hours from New Orleans, and so I'm on, and intentionally so, on a former plantation. And I based our organization on this former plantation to do this work. And so what we are doing is, there's so much to it, but one of the things that we are doing is claiming rice, which is our African foodways.
Yeah.
So it has so much to do with, it's at the intersection of land, at the intersection of race, money, and spirit. These are the 4 pillars that I talk about: land, race, money, and spirit. And the work that I'm doing based there, all of it comes up around land, race, and money, clearly. And then the spirit of ourselves and our ancestors is so alive. It's so alive there. And so what we're doing is working with Black farmers throughout the Southeast, in Mississippi, Louisiana, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Georgia, and doing a special kind of growing. The idea is that the Black land loss that has happened is so pervasive, and I think most of us, probably some of us, know a lot about that. And what we're trying to do is create a new institution, for one thing, and a way that Black farmers can, first of all, come together as well and not separate, come together in communities of practice, learning together, and being able to realize an economic advantage of coming together, of owning together, creating a cooperative, and working with this specialty rice, and again, reclaiming rice as a Black African foodways that was brought here to this country by way of Europeans. Europeans coming to West Africa, enslaving them, bringing them to South Carolina, and South Carolina was the capital in America in the 1700s, and it was off the backs of our ancestors. And it was treacherous work bringing the rice, because they saw in West Africa beautiful, incredible ways that they were growing rice, very sophisticated rice production. And so they wanted to have that in this country, intentionally targeted rice farmers and brought them to South Carolina to feed this quote unquote new world. And in that, it was absolutely horrible. Those of you who know South Carolina, it is swampland, and it is treacherous with alligators and snakes, and they had to create the land, and so much happened there. And rice was the economic engine of this country in the 1700s. And before cotton, it was rice. And so it was time after emancipation. Black folks like, I'm out, I'm not doing this. And so now our attempt is to recreate, grab back our food, and to make it where now we own the means of production. It's all specialty rice, and we're doing it in a way that's climate friendly, that has to do with being very clear about our relationship to the land and to the earth, and working in regenerative ways and organic regenerative ways.
Yeah, to me that sounds like Black possibility when you're explaining, like reclaiming, intentionally taking care of the planet, taking care of one another.
Yeah.
Why is this conversation and this convening so important to the work that you're doing right now?
Yeah, well, the whole topic, when Nia called me and said Black possibilities, I said, Nia, give me some parameters here. I mean, it's only, the Black possibilities. When I think of Black possibilities, I feel like Black folks have done already the most impossible. I mean, when we go back to the very beginning, let's go back to the beginning and think about Lucy, the sister that birthed all of humanity.
Yes.
I mean, we did the impossible, right? And now, so when I think about what are Black possibilities, I think of I think of the Blackness and the sacredness of Blackness. I think about all of the things that are sacred and fearful for a lot of people, right? And Black skin, how fearful it is in the white psyche, right? And I think about all that Blackness brings. A woman's womb, you know, the black hole that all creation came from. All of that is this Blackness and this sense of ourselves. And again, like I said about Lucy, who created all humanity. So the possibilities are actually, it is rooted in our imagination and how much, where is our imagination? And when I think about our imagination, I also think about how Black folks are the only people in this country that it was illegal to learn to read. Illegal to learn to read, meaning that the idea of stunting our imagination was institutionalized, but it didn't work. But that said, we have so much abundance. And I think that the work that I'm doing is just one little small piece of the work that we're all doing. And so as long as we are, I think that's what's important, is that we root ourselves not in this sense of limitation, but in our deep, deep knowing of abundance. And if we can stay in that mindset of abundance, then I think that, you know, all the possibilities are there. And that's kind of, I mean, what we have done in the South and in Louisiana, where I am, I you know, started a rice mill. Somebody said, one of my farmers, when I first got introduced to the farmer, said, you know, the farmer takes all the risk, whether he has a crop or she has a crop or not, takes all the risk, and in the end gets 13 cents a pound for the rice. The middle person, which is usually a man, so I'm gonna say the middleman, comes in, takes the rice, and makes all the money and makes the lion's share. And I was like, oh, hell no. We need to own a rice mill. And out of that, what happened? We have a rice mill. That's the possibility of, okay, I didn't know anything about a rice mill. Tell you the truth, I didn't know anything about rice when I first started the whole project. This is how it all started, is just happenstance and, you know, universe moving me and me saying yes. And that's the other thing, we need to know when to say yes, because the universe is always here. We need to know how to say yes and not be fearful. And that is one of our biggest issues around possibilities, right? Is that we're afraid of failure or afraid I don't know. There has not been one business, and I'm a serial entrepreneur, there's not one business that I have done that I knew what I was doing when I started it.
That's right.
Not one. Not one.
Yeah.
And it's like I have this, somehow I think, actually, I was born with a fear of having a job. That's my fear. I don't know how to do that. I never have. I don't know how to go into somebody else's business and have a job. And so that has motivated me, to tell you the truth. But also having this inner impulse and listening and knowing that I'm being supported. I'm being supported, you know, and so I have this deep faith about the support that I have and that we all have, and I am no different than anyone on this planet. But we just need to have that connection. And so being now, working with the land, working with soil, working with the earth, oh my God, it is the most amazing work I've ever done.
Something you said about the possibility, and you started talking about abundance and the support. And I'm thinking of, at this point, we've heard you talk a little bit about the land. Obviously, race and money is in there, but spirit. Spirit is the part that we don't get a chance to really talk about. And I feel like it's the differentiator between this possibility part, right? Like when you tap into the full abundance, it is also tapping into this spirit, the ancestor work.
That's right.
Talk to me about why it was important to bring spirit into this conversation, into your work, when often, and I shared this with you before, in business and in finance, even though I know I'm oriented towards thinking about my ancestors and my spirituality, it was seen as like, oh no, you're not being serious on the subject. But I was being very serious, and that was where I was finding my source and my abundance and my energy. And I'm so grateful that you hold that up and invite that piece back into the work. To me, that feels like an integral part of possibility. Why spirit for you was so important to add?
Ooh, that's a big subject, and I have so much energy around it. Let me focus it. Let me focus it. There's such a need for us to, when I think about our focus as Black people, particularly, if we're not doing the ancestor work, if we're not understanding who we are, who we've been, and how we got here, we have just cut off our possibilities. We've cut off our possibilities. The work is so integral to us realizing, because we already have it, we have to realizing our full potential. Think about it. Think about what our ancestors, why you are able to sit in this room right now. I mean, think about it all the time. Like, understand that I talk about the fact that I don't even know how we got through the Middle Passage. I have no freaking idea how we even, as many of us made it through as we did. Then we get here, and through the chattel slavery and the brutality and the horror. And then you think about Jim Crow and the lynching and I leave here and I go to Montgomery tomorrow if folks who haven't been there, you must go to EJI. But that history, all of that is in our DNA.
Yes, it is.
All of it is.
Yes.
All of it is. And I feel that the time, if you add up the millions of our ancestors who were enslaved, the many years, 240 some years of it, the millions and millions of hours that were unpaid, we did not get the bank account that our white folks got as a legacy. Mom and dad put money in the bank, you get it. We didn't get that because there was no money that was transferred. But what was put into that bank was time. Our people did time on this land. And what we have inherited is that time. And so what we do with that time is critical to me. And so I think of time as a unit of currency.
Yes.
And so what I do with my time here has everything to do with the time that was spent here before me that got me here. And that depth of connection is what's going to motivate us and move us in the right direction and will keep us spirited and alive. If we cut that off, if we have a fear of ancestors and all that and don't understand it, it's okay, because they built this shit this way for us to be afraid of ourselves. Okay? Start today. Start today if you haven't already. Go back and understand it. Connect to it and see the strength that comes from it. I never thought I would move from Oakland, California to the middle of Louisiana. Never been there, didn't know anything about it, other than fear of the South. That was, where I grew up. My mama said, we did that already, you don't have to do that, stay your ass in California. But there I was in the middle of the South and I found myself, I'm living on a plantation. Universe has a sense of humor. Living on a plantation, doing hard labor work. And I said, dear ancestors, just keep it clear. Just keep me motivated, because that is why I'm there. And it's so clear that they are no longer whispering in our ears. They are yelling.
Yeah.
They are yelling. And if you pay attention, the energy is there. And that is more than our possibilities. That is absolutely our future and our present. And I think that I can't do it any other way, Jessica. I don't even know how to do it any other way. And I believe strongly that that what we are afraid of, what we are most afraid of, is almost always our deepest strength. You know? And so instead of going around it, you got to go through it. You got to go through it. And therefore, here I am in Louisiana doing this work and feeling completely not knowing.
Yes.
I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. And yet I'm doing it. And I'm being motivated by the strength of my ancestors. There's no question about it.
I'm curious now, Konda, about this moment in time, and you talked about it a little bit, but the field, everybody in this room sort of represents, if you will, a field that's working towards our Black possibilities, our Black imaginations. Where are we on this arc? I mean, at this moment, with this assembly of people, if we could just sort of future gaze, what are we seeing happening here? What's possible with us?
Yeah, that's a really good question. You know, I don't know what everybody's doing in this room, but I know what some people are doing in this room.
Yeah.
And every person in this room that I know what they're doing, it's incredible, it's amazing. We are in the lead. We are in this leader, and it's centered by Black women. Hello.
That's right.
Okay,
That's
let's
right.
tell the truth about that. It is centered with Black women. Not that the brothers, y'all love you, everything, and sisters are leading as it needs to be, not only in this room, but on the national front as well, when we think about it, okay? It's our time.
Yeah.
It's our time. This didn't spring out of nowhere. This idea was caught, and that's how I see it. I mean, you know, Nia and Ujima, y'all caught this idea to bring this together, and everybody in the room who's doing these incredible things. Anasa, the work that you're doing in Memphis, right? Runway, the work that we're doing. Amaka, Katali, there's so much incredible work, and now we're in positions where we can pull each other up.
Right.
And that's what's most important, is that we don't get white-sided.
Ooh. Come on, okay. Preach. Come on. This the word. Y'all ready? Okay, I think they ready for that. They ready.
I never said that word before. It just came out of my mouth.
Right.
But we cannot get white-sided. We have to reach out and touch and bring each other.
Yeah.
And even if there's times when we, be hating on each other or quarreling or whatever, get over it. Get over it. Everybody's doing the best they can. We all have all of our weaknesses.
Yeah.
Let's allow that. Let's allow that and get over it and come together. Because we have always, the only reason why we're here also is because we have come together as a people. We couldn't have done this by ourselves.
Right, right.
And we still can't.
That's right.
And so that's why cooperatively working together, collaborating is crucial. And when you get to a place where you have some power, which you always have your internal power, but you have this external power that shows up in an institution of some sort. you got a job to do.
You have a job.
You got a job to do.
Yeah.
And it stays in the family. It stays in the family. And so that's what's really important for us. And until we really catch that and understand that, we will stay divided, because the biggest thing that is going to keep us out of our greatness is division.
Yeah. Yeah.
And separation.
Yes. Yeah.
The idea of our separate selves from ourselves, separation from each other, separation from this earth and this planet that is so abundant and beautiful that we are stewarding, and separation from all other species that we treat as if this hierarchy of humankind can do anything to animals, and I can't stand it. You know, we are here sharing this planet. And until we understand that from a very spiritual place, a place of deep connection, then we will act like the animals that they want us to be. We really, really have to bring spirit into the middle of every decision that we make, and understand bringing life. If we center life into every decision that we make, we are going to create a regenerative earth. We're going to create an earth in balance.
Yeah.
And one that is coming from a place of compassion and love, and generate the kinds of places that we need. Now, I'm sitting here and I'm going to sit on the stage and I'm going to talk about love. And it's the thing that, you know, we're supposed to stay away from, right, in business. And I've been, you know, I had a coach when I started Impact Hub Oakland. I was like, you know, I'm this black woman, I'm kind of small, so they say. And how do I, you know, deal and become all that I'm supposed to be as a CEO of Impact Hub Oakland? So I got this coach. And he coached me all the wrong ways. He coached me to separate myself from everyone else that I was working with. He coached me to, and as a woman, of course, and he knew my background, never say love in business. And I knew that he was, you know, I had to get rid of him, because that's what's missing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're so afraid to say, we know that. Everybody's shaking their head.
Yeah.
And how many of us have actually said it? Right? Thank you. But we know it. We're shaking our heads to it. We know that that is what is missing. We know that that is who we are. We, as black people, are the moral compass of this country.
Come on now.
We are the moral compass
Yes.
of this country. Okay? And without our moral compass, and if we allow ourselves to be swayed off of that moral center and uphold the madness as our pathway to get there, we have just shit on all of our ancestors.
Say it. Say it. Yeah. Yeah. Thinking that that pathway is our wealth, is our true wealth, is our success. To follow behind and use somebody else's the work, attitude, belief, behaviors as our moral center, is so opposite.
So opposite.
Of who we are. It's so opposite from our ancestors. And so what I hear you saying is to go back, claim that center, that spirit, source ourselves from that place.
That's right.
Be connected to all that is around us, connected internally to each other, to the planet, to the other living beings and things around.
That's right.
And that is our possibility and our abundance. That is the possibility and abundance. This moral compass, though, I wanna talk about it a little bit more, because I feel like we hear and have so much negative media about black folks, like black folks can't come together, black folks not doing this, and really we have this huge history. I said to someone, I was like, well, you must not have gone to the museum in Washington, D.C. yet, because it's a whole floors of black folks doing stuff. Everywhere I go, they activated, we active. So I want us to talk more about what it means for us to undergird ourselves and to show up as that moral compass, like permissioning ourselves to be right in the moment. Like I'm clear, what we're doing is the right thing to be doing, and to hold that as our truth, even when the world around you is going to say you didn't do anything, you're not contributing anything. How do we sit in that space?
Yeah, how do we sit in that space? It's hard. It's hard when everything around us is being socialized to do the opposite.
Yeah.
And you know, if we believe what we're socialized to believe, what we're set up to believe, it will take us completely off track. We'll be looking for the wrong things in the wrong places. And so how do we center ourselves in that morality that we are? Without that morality, for me, like when I think of, you know, the most important attribute of an individual is integrity. Integrity is what you got. That's what you got. And it's an integrity from before you. Again, it's an integrity from those who came before us. Right? And I have to believe we know not a whole lot necessarily. Some of us do who studied, you know, African history and African American history. But there's one person that I think we all know, and that is our sister Harriet Tubman.
Yeah.
And when I think of Harriet is always with me. And when I think of Harriet, who put herself in harm's way over and over, I mean, I'm talking harm's way. I'm talking, when you think about it, this sister went back.
Yeah.
And back. And I mean, think about that. Who could do that today? It's like, well, you know, wish you luck, I'm praying for you. But to actually do that.
Yeah.
And if we can hold on to one person in our history, if we have one role model, personal role model, historical role model, who we look up to as a moral compass, and say, what would they do in this situation? What would this person do in that situation? You know, I was lucky enough to have a brother, my brother Larry Mason, he's gone, he's on the other side now, but a special being. And I'm constantly, I think, what would Larry do? He's my moral compass, and he keeps me straight.
Yes.
And sometimes it's not easy, you know, especially when there's a conversation or there's a choice between money and morals, right? Going for the money is a lot more attractive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Think about it. All I say is think about it. Money is that thing that has got us in a grip. And yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about that. and what it is and what it isn't, and how we've made it up. And I just think that our moral compass, there are people who you can look to.
Yeah.
And when you are in a place of an aware, first you have to have that awareness that you're even in that place.
Yeah.
Of about to do something that may lead you towards regret. Take a moment, take a breath, and bring in that role model, and say, what would they do? What would they do?
That's helpful. Thank you. Thank you. Do we want to do? Am I ready for you? Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's give it up for our speakers. And we're going to start a little question and answer portion of this session. If you would like to ask a question, I ask that you line up in this row here. And I will hand you the microphone. But before that, I want to honor what we have in this space. So this conversation was about the state of Black possibilities, right? And I want to just honor that there's a lot possible when we come together and when we do things. I want to honor that Ms. Konda Mason is one of the founders of Community Capital, a People of Color Investment Conference. Like, let's give that up. I want to give honor to the fact that Boston Ujima Project is the first democratically governed investment fund in the country. Let's give that up. I want to give honor to the fact that we have the first Black-owned lumberyard in the building. Let's give it up for our folks there. Come on. I want to give honor to the fact that we are all doing amazing things. And it's not about being the first, it's about the fact that we're doing it, and we're doing it together. So keep that in mind as we continue to have these conversations. Give it up for y'all. Let's talk our stuff.
Yes.
All right, questions. Anybody would like to ask questions?
Good morning, Konda. My name is Ayoka, and I have two questions. One is, can you say more about abundance? You started early with that, and it seems like abundance today could possibly look different than the way that we used to think of it, because life is so different, and seemingly we have so much more and so much more access, but we're a little more depraved feeling. And the other thing is, you said that women are leading as it should be. And I was wondering if you could say more about that. And with whatever your feelings are around that, where is the space for men as women lead, right? Yeah. Because I see a lot of women leading in a lot of ways and in a lot of spaces, but I feel like we're taught to compete so much that it doesn't leave room for reconciliation and love and harmony, so that we're peer-to-peer with men. It's like, oh, if women have to be first, then men have to be somewhere over there or back there. And how do we coexist together?
Yeah, thank you for both questions. Let me start with the first one, abundance. So abundance is based on relationship, the way I see it. First of all, we all feel better when we feel abundant, right? When you're in an energy of abundance, you feel better. When you're in an energy of scarcity, you feel worse. And we spend so much time in an energy of scarcity. And our whole financial system is based on scarcity. It's based on debt. It's based on scarcity. It's based in a way that makes us feel like, oh, we will never have, we're always going after something that feels elusive. And so it's really hard not to be caught up in scarcity mindset and debt mindset, because that's what the whole system is based upon. But when I think of abundance, I think of that internal abundance that we have within relationship. And it begins, to me, with our relationship with ourselves and relationship with others. And if we can have an abundant relationship, a relationship based on abundance instead of scarcity, it means that I'm bringing my full self, and you're bringing your full self. And we're meeting in this place that is filled with abundance. And that is a driving force, that it is a natural driving force that's within us, that we cut off through the mind that tells us to do things otherwise. And so I really believe that abundance is our inherited wealth of being human on the planet. And if we can uncover it and keep it alive, and we do that through relationship. Yeah. And by, again, if you are in relationships where scarcity, where it's tight, there's scarcity somewhere in there. And to become more aware of it, and to be able to shift that, and stand in that place of your inherent abundance on this planet. So that's abundance to me in a nutshell. Men and women. So no, I don't think that men are behind or anyone's behind. I think that to lead, we are leaderful. We don't. It's not a hierarchical. We're used to hierarchy, who's above and who's below. This is not hierarchy. This is lateral leadership. But it is leadership of Black women who are standing up, who have been, it started with Lucy, and here we are, right? And the wisdom that we have as being black women in this country, there's a wisdom, there's a love, there's a passion that has galvanized into these beings that a lot of people are afraid of, right? There's a lot of fear. I mean, it's so interesting. I think about Lucy all the time. I actually went to go see her. I was in Ethiopia and I saw her little bones, and I was like, if it was known that a white woman was the center of humanity, there'd be statues all over the place, right? We'd be praising this woman all over the place. But it was this little, tiny human being in Ethiopia. And the power of that is just, it's unimaginable that humanity came from that. And so I steep myself in that, and I know that there is an inherentness that comes from the very beginning around black women. And I do believe that, brothers, of course, we are lateral. I believe that, absolutely. And it does not mean that leadership from black women is not in front of not in front, but is leading the conversation and the possibilities. And when I look at it, I mean, when you just look around, it's just happening. I'm not making this up. When I look at the leadership of organizations that are really on the cutting edge of the future and where we are, it's just this. It just is.
Yeah.
And it's a natural phenomenon. And it's time. And it's time for us to be able to say it out loud, as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to say it out loud. And so that's kind of how I stand about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the juicy question and equally as juicy answer. So we have time for one, maybe two more questions. And so if you have a question, come to the front. But please, if you have questions, if you continue these conversations with the folks around you, we'll be together for the next 2 days.
Shalom, everyone. Michelle D. Smith, founder and consultant of Mission Possible Collaborative, where our motto is Together to Thrive. I'm wondering, how can we, since we're here collectively, support you? Because one of my consulting services is grant funding, helping nonprofits and businesses find money to do what they're called to do. So I'm wondering, how can we support you with our philanthropy, with our time, with our resources?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. How can we what?
Yeah, support you, like
Around
your initiative, like what you're doing with our time, our money, our talent.
Oh, well, that's the easy one. I have a website, jubileejustice.org. I mean, we accept all support. And it's really about supporting the space as well. There's so many, and not that I appreciate and accept, and there are so many incredible organizations that are way older than my organization that's been doing the work for a long time, that I give homage to and honor to, and that needs support. And so I say that we look around and that we do what we can to support each other. And I thank you for your question. And I say let's spread the wealth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's so important to be about that business of thinking of the entire community and ecosystem, and just staying, laser focused on how we lift up so many of our other friends and partners in this work as well. Yeah.
I want to say one other thing, and that is to the question about, 5 minutes, okay, to the male-female thing. I want to also presence patriarchy.
I wanted to say it too, but I'm so glad you're saying it.
I want to presence patriarchy.
Yeah.
Patriarchy is a thing, and it needs to go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
It needs to go away.
Yeah.
And until we, as women and men, work towards the dissolution of patriarchy as we do white supremacy culture, it's the same shit that needs to go away.
Yes.
And that is a big problem, okay? Because it's not true.
Right.
It's a myth.
And
It's a myth.
And I think you see the leadership of people who are really moving in that intersectional way. So it may seem like Black women, but I also think what we're acknowledging is the intersectionality that these women are bringing to the lens of that work. And that's why their leadership and why right now, because it needs to go.
That's right.
Right. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
It needs to go.
Yeah.
And there's a movement for it. I mean, you know, we're talking about it more and more. We're talking about all the things that need to dissolve are being lifted up more and more. And the things that need to take its place are being lifted up more and more.
Yeah.
When did you ever hear the word, you know, reparations in Washington and different places? I mean, we are in a time. And so in order for things to readjust in an equitable way, certain things have to go. And patriarchy is one big one.
Yeah.
And it has been a stumbling block. And, you know, it is not relegated to white men.
Or men at all.
Or men.
Or men.
Or men. Or men.
Or men. All right.
Just a quickness. I just want us to have a moment. Is that all right, y'all? Can we just come together and, yeah, we're going to have a little moment.
Let's do it.
And get ourselves centered. So if you got something on your lap or in your hand, put it aside and put your feet on the ground. Feel your connection to the earth. Feel that deep connection, that who we are. And if it's comfortable for you, you can allow your eyes to close or just look downward and just have that sense of who we are, who you are, who got you here. Who are the people in your line, in your family line, that got you here? And just take a moment. And feeling that connection between yourself, the earth, and your lineage. There's nothing more grounding than that. And this breath that you have in your body that connects, allowing the breath to be the connection, the bridge. And allowing yourself to take this energy, this knowingness, into the rest of this day and tomorrow together. Steeping yourself in the goodness of who you are. The goodness. Letting go of the criticisms that we have of ourselves and just steep yourself in the goodness of who you are. And see that in each other. Ashe. Thank you.
Please give it up for my friend and teacher, Konda Mason. All right, let's get to it. All right.